Alright, everybody, welcome back. So, I apologize that this video did not get out way sooner. It definitely should have. But our 2023 reviews continue once again today with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Yes, Pittsburgh. So, this is the first year in a long time where Pittsburgh has missed the playoffs. They're, at least in my entire lifetime, I believe they made the playoffs every single year, which is pretty wild to think. Now, I was born in 2007, so I'm 16 years old now. And I've seen this team go on this stretch since, I believe, 2008. So maybe they missed in 07. I really can't remember. It has been a long time, 100%. But there were a lot of questions surrounding this team, and there kind of still is. But I do like their overall direction more than most people probably do, if I'm being brutally honest with you. So, anyways, this season, the Penguins finished with a 40-31-11 record for 91 points. They had a .555 win percentage. They scored 262 goals and let in 264, and they had a -2 difference overall. They were 23-13-5 at home, and they were 17-18-6 on the road. Now, at the beginning of the year, they were okay. They weren't that bad. They had some pretty good stretches, but towards the end, you could kind of tell this team was starting to drag a little bit. There was clearly some injuries that were definitely wrong with this team. And then that final game where they lost to Chicago, that kind of arguably caused Florida's cup run. If they won that game, they made the playoffs, and Florida would have missed, and we would have seen a completely different Stanley Cup finals for sure. Maybe not completely. Vegas still would have made it. But anyways, that kind of altered everything. But, Pittsburgh, after that, there was a lot of questions surrounding Ron Hextall. And, of course, he was fired. And it's kind of funny to think that, he's not only screwed over one Pennsylvania team, he's screwed over both of them. So, yeah, now we're both I wouldn't say the Penguins are in shambles. But they're definitely both in kind of a weird spot right now. Philadelphia's obviously terrible, but Pittsburgh is in a weird spot right now, of course. That's arguably because of Hextall. But, of course, they did hire Kyle Dubas as their brand new president of hockey operations. He will also most likely be the intern GM for a while here, which is not a surprise, of course. Your month-by-month record goes as follows. In October, they went 4-4-1, so they started off the year 500. November, they were 7-4-3. December, they had their best month. They were 8-3-2. And then things kind of started getting a little bit weird. They were pretty much 500 for the rest of the season. They went 5-5-3 in January. Then they were 6-5-0 in February. They were 7-7-1 in March, which is a very crucial month. They needed to at least win at least 2 or 3 more of those games they lost. If they did, they would have been in the playoffs for sure. And that's just how close this team was overall to making it. And then, of course, in April, they went 3-3-1. So, obviously it all narrows down to April where they lost to Chicago and then they lost to Columbus. Those were big games. And then they lost both of them. And it was looked at as really disappointing. And that kind of is what caused Ron Hextall to be fired. So, I don't think Hextall is going to get another job again in the NHL. Highly doubt it. Even though he's had some good moves, but he's also had some really bad moves, and his bad moves kind of overweigh the good moves. So yeah, no way he gets signed to another deal with another team. If he does, I will be shocked. Anyways, your leading scorers here for the Pittsburgh Penguins. You start off with, guess who? Sidney Crosby with 82 games played, 33 goals, 60 assists for 93 points. Sidney Crosby, of course, again, even though he missed some, actually he didn't miss any games this year, even though he's getting up there in age is what I meant to say. He still had a really solid season and is still playing at a really high level, and I expect him to be that way until probably the end of his career, generally. Then you got Evgeny Malkin there, 82 games played, 27 goals, 56 assists for 83 points. Malkin, of course, played a full season. He's back. Definitely good for him, of course. And if you want to keep him around for as long as Hextall signed him to, that's definitely a good season out of him for sure. Jake Gensel, 78 games played, 36 goals, 37 assists, 73 points. I don't think he had as good as a year as he did last year. If not, he probably was better. I can't really remember, but he did have a good year this year regardless. Rickard Rakell was fourth in scoring. Rakell turned out to be a very promising and very solid player for Pittsburgh down this stretch. 82 games played, 28 goals, 32 assists for 60 points. I thought Raquel had a really good season. Jason Zucker, 78 games played, 27 goals, 21 assists, 48 points. Zucker had an okay year, but I honestly think that if they get the chance to move him, they probably will. Brian Rust, and look, Rust had a good year last season. He looked very good last year, but this year was kind of just like not that good of a season for him. He had a big fall off, 100%, and that was kind of expected. I wasn't too surprised. He was in his contract year. Of course, he's going to play well. But now that he's signed that deal, not looking so good now for Penguins fans. 81 games played, 20 goals, 26 assists, 46 points. Again, Rust kind of had a down season for his standards. Chris Letang was up next there with 64 games played, 12 goals, 29 assists for 41 points. Letang had a lot going on, and there's no question there. He missed about 20, almost 30 games. There's no questions that like he had a lot of stuff going on and off the ice. Of course, I think he suffered a stroke. If I'm correct, he was the person that did that. And his father also did pass away too. So, there was a lot of stuff going on there with Chris Letang. But I'm glad that he's okay. And hopefully next year he'll make his big push back into the top standings there with Pittsburgh. Jeff Petrie, 61 games played, 5 goals, 26 assists for 31 points. If there's a player they want to move out, it's probably going to be Jeff Petrie. I would want to move out Jeff Petrie. I was shocked when Pittsburgh traded for him. Even when that trade happened, I was like, seriously, you made that trade? What? So yeah, Petrie. No. Then he got Jeff Carter, who, God bless him, he is in the last year of that deal. But this is probably going to be his last season in the NHL. 79 games played, 13 goals, 16 assists for 29 points. As you can tell, he's kind of in that dying stretch in his career overall. Then he got Brian Dumoulin as well to wrap out the top 10 there with 82 games played, one goal, 24 assists for 25 points. So, of course, that's your top 10. Notice how a lot of those guys, and there are some players in there who missed a lot of games, but notice how a lot of those guys, except for, I'd say probably Jake Gensel, and I can't remember how old Ricard Raquel is, all those players are extremely old. I believe all those players besides Gensel are above 30. If not, they're close to being 30. So that goes to show that there's a lot of old players in Pittsburgh, and they need to get some more youth. And I think that's why what they're going to aim for in this year's draft. Of course, they're going to get youth with their 14th overall pick, but they're going to look at bringing guys in from these last couple of drafts and bring them into the lineup and see how they do. P. Oliver Joseph, Nick Pickering, I believe is his name. Some of those other guys, and of course, they're going to want to bring in some youth. So if they can move out those old contracts and bring in some more younger players, I think that could be something smart that Pittsburgh could do. But yeah, that's the overall direction Pittsburgh probably wants to head as of right now. Goaltending, you got Tristan Jarry here, 47 games played, a 24-13-7 record with a 2.90 goals against average and a .909 save percentage. Of course, there is a lot of talks around Tristan Jarry right now. And of course, he might get traded, he might not. They might bring in a new goalie, they might not. But Jarry right now, there's a lot of uncertainty. We will get some closure probably coming in this offseason for sure. Then your backup there, Casey DeSmith, who didn't look too bad at points here. 38 games played, 15-16-4 record, a 3.17 goals against average, and a .905 save percentage. Of course, he's been the backup for Pittsburgh for many, many years. I would wonder if maybe they would move on for him eventually. But overall, I don't mind Pittsburgh's tandem. I think it's a solid tandem, but I don't think it's a tandem that's going to get you far in the playoffs, really. And that's why, I think this coming off season, they want to surround themselves around younger type players and a more solid goalie in that. You want to surround Crosby, Malkin, and Letang with more younger players. And I think that's what they're going to try and do. They're going to try and get as much cap space as possible to work with and get some more youth into this lineup. Trades. And of course, this was the Hextall deadline of trades, so of course they're going to be bad. You got Teddy Bluger to the Vegas Golden Knights. Weird penalty killer. I don't know why they moved him for basically nothing. Mikael Granlund to they acquired Mikael Granlund, sorry. That deal made no sense. He still has 2 to 3 years left on his contract. If he was a rental, I still would have thought it was stupid, but it was still not that bad of a deal if he was a rental. Nick Bonino as well. He was hurt pretty much the entire time. And so with Dmitry Kulikov as well, who they acquired from Anaheim. So a weird deadline, but hey, that season's behind you. Ron Hextall, that whole, that crap is behind you. You can now focus on this offseason now. And this offseason is where things start getting either fun or weird for Pittsburgh. And I love the offseason. I actually love the offseason more than a lot of people do in that June and July type area. It's a lot of fun. It really is. You look at draft picks. They have the 14th overall pick in this year's draft, as I mentioned. As well as that, too, they don't have a lot of picks afterwards. They really don't. They have 1/3, 1/5, and 2/4. So they really do not have a lot of draft capital heading into this year's draft, which is not in their favor. And they're going to try and make some moves. I would definitely think they're going to try and trade some people away. Either that or Kyle Dubas is going to try and look at, like what are they going to do, what they want to do with, of course, this coming draft and who they want to draft. That's the right move. And then look at free agency, see who's young coming in there and sign them. But, of course, there's a lot of questions around Pittsburgh right now, as I mentioned a few times. UFAs and RFAs, they only have like $78,000 in cap space, according to Cap Friendly. But with these guys leaving, it will definitely make their lives a lot easier. Jason Zucker, of course, he's on that bad deal. He's gone now. Nick Bonino, Danton Heinen, Josh Archibald, Brian Dumoulin. And I think that's a good one because Dumoulin, of course, is on a bad contract. He's likely gone. And then Dmitry Kulikov there as well. A lot of those guys were rentals or they just didn't play at all. But I think getting guys like Jason Zucker and Brian Dumoulin out of there are definitely good moves for Pittsburgh. And then, of course, in their RFA column, you have Ryan Poehling and Drew O'Connor. I would imagine they bring probably both those guys back. They're young. Give them a chance to flourish in the NHL potentially. And, of course, bring more youth to that lineup. But, yeah, as of now, Pittsburgh's in a weird spot. 100%, and there's a lot of questions like where are they going to go, where's the direction from here, and of course that's what I'm kind of wondering with this team. But overall, I like their future more than others. That might be because Kyle Dubas is now their president of hockey ops, and maybe that's because he's also like the interim GM. But overall, I still like this future where the Penguins are going, and I think it's a very good chance they have of being good for the next couple of years. Now, of course, when Crosby leaves, they'll be bad again, but I think that as long as they have Crosby here, I think if they build a good enough team around him and they move out some of these old players, bring in some more youth and maybe some more established and better players, they could make a run. But anyways, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thank you all very much for watching. For us personally, I really do appreciate it. The next one will be the Nashville Predators. But anyways, thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Adios.